Brian VANDUYN here, driving dump trucks. I just thought I would do a little video, a little live stream, and talk to some of you guys that I haven't seen in forever. Not much has been going on. We got just me working today. I got been really slow for us lately. You know, surprisingly, we've been. I would say we're more busier than we were last year, but not by much. Like very, you know, maybe by a very small margin. So there's a whole lot of political things going on in the world today, and it's got a lot of people shook up. You know, a lot of people are worried about the turmoil that's happening in the world. You know, you got Doge, you got Elon and Trump, and then you got tariffs, and you got, you know, the Canadians now they want to up the tariffs, I guess. You got the war in Ukraine. There's so the world is going crazy, right? But if you take a couple steps back and you look at the world history, it's always been crazy. You know, there's never been a normal time where people were just in peace and, you know, nothing was going sideways. It's been like that for the dawn of time, you know, since, you know, Cain killed Abel, you know. So it's going to happen, you know. What you got to do if you're in a business is you got to be aware of what's going on around you. Be very conscious of how it can affect you and your business and your customers. And you got to be able to adapt. You know, like back when my business was very young. I'm talking way back in 2020, when my business was 2 years old. We had the great pandemic of COVID-19. Right? I thought the whole thing was just gonna blow over, and it was nothing. I was just like, it's the flu, who cares? It's the flu. You know? Next thing I know, everything's shut down. You can't buy toilet paper. Everybody's using pine cones and whatever. I don't know what they were using. I had toilet paper, so we had a nice stockpile because I got a stockpile of everything. But I know there was a few people, probably Justin, he probably lived without some toilet paper for a little bit there. I don't know how it was for him, but I'm sure it wasn't very fun. But what I'm getting at is, you know, the world is always going to be changing, right? And a lot of people during the COVID era, they lost a lot of money, business, they lost a lot of hope, momentum, all that stuff. They lost a lot of it, a lot of people. But the one thing that you can guarantee is, you know, fortune favors the bold. The people that were the most bold probably benefited the most. You know, I bought a truck when everybody was telling me not to. You know, granted, I did buy took Justin's advice and I ended up buying the Peterbilt, and I should have went with the Kenworth. You know, that was my big mistake that year. I ended up having nightmare problems with the strong arm, as you guys know. I already did an update on that. We took that thing off and ripped it right off, and it's been running without it ever since. And, you know, it's turned into a really profitable unit. But it just goes to show, when a lot of businesses were shut down, a lot of people found ways to work around and stay busy, like me. You know, I ended up installing a lot of, 5G fiber optics during that whole era, installing, utilities. I ended up finding a way to be an essential business, basically. I had a letter that said I was essential, right? I never got pulled over and asked, because a police officer really isn't going to look at a dump truck and say, oh, is this guy essential or not? Of course he's essential. He's building infrastructure, So, but a lot of people really got put in a bad position, A lot of small business owners, like hairdressers and, just all of those really small type businesses. Hey, Jerry, good to see you. I'm sure a lot of you guys felt the same way. Like, this is ridiculous. We're locked in our houses. You can't go anywhere. If you do go somewhere, you got to have a mask on 24/7, which I didn't follow that whole thing. I never wore a mask the whole pandemic. I never wore one. Never. You'll never see me wearing a mask. For one, I'm not going to be afraid of the air I breathe. If the air is bad enough that I can't breathe it, then I better die anyways. That's kind of my thought process on it. If I gotta live in fear of the air I breathe, I don't want to be alive. So, yeah. And I just seen past all the BS. When the guy was toking the vape and then blowing it through the mask, and the mask didn't stop any of the vapor from the vape, I just knew it was all just a show. It was all a dog and pony show, But the moral of the story is you got to find a way to continue working while others put roadblocks in front of themselves. One of my past roadblocks that I'm getting through is, and I don't remember if I ever posted any pictures about this or not, but in the fall this year, it was like around September or October, or one of those months, I had a driver that was driving on a pit road. He got too close to the edge of the road, letting some other dump truckers go by, and the trailer went off the road and got totaled. And then that weekend, I went out and bought another pup trailer, and then that Monday, the dingleberry crashed the truck. I had to let him go because that was just too much. That's just unacceptable. You can't crash a trailer and then crash a truck basically in the same week. That's not acceptable, right? I had to let him go. That was a really big hit for me in my business and my progress in business. $16,000 trailer gets totaled. Go out, buy another $10,000 trailer, spend a couple grand fixing it up, and then next thing you know, the truck gets totaled, and then it costs you $15,000 to get that fixed, and meanwhile it's broke for a whole month. You lose all the revenue. That was devastating, just absolutely devastating. And as a long-term business owner, you got to think about the long term. And this is one of the things I always do in business. Insurance, everybody knows it's a scam, right? Here's why it's a scam. Because you're forced to pay these premiums, right? Which, okay, you got to pay some premiums. Something breaks, they got to have the money somewhere to pay for it, right? But then, if you have an insurance claim, then they up the rate, and then you end up paying them more money ever than you ever pay, than they'll ever pay you. So it's really a one-way street. Insurance companies are a one-way street, guys. If you ever cost them more than they're making from you, they will drop you like a hot potato. I guarantee you that. If you ever do any claims, they will either, one, up your premium. Well, they're going to do that guaranteed. Two, they're going to drop you, and then they're going to tell all the other insurance companies, do not pick this guy up. He will cost you more than he pays. And then you'll find yourself in a position where you can't get insured. Number one, because they don't want you because they blacklisted you. Number two, because the insurance premiums are going to be so high you won't be able to even afford them when you're in business. So, I mean, you gotta take the hits. That's the sucky thing as being a business owner. When crap hits the fan, the buck stops at you. You're taking the hit no matter what. You know, if you've been in business for 30 years and you feel like the insurance company needs to take a hit or two, to help kind of get you back up to that level of what you've been paying them, then that's another story. And I don't think I'll ever make an insurance claim while my business is in business. There's no way. It's just not gonna happen. I'll just pay everything. Because I'm looking for long-term success, not no short-term gain, right? And that's what a lot of guys do. They think they're gonna get one up on the insurance company. They're gonna do a little claim. They're gonna get up on the insurance company. It never works like that, man. They're bigger than you. Not only are they bigger than you, they got the government behind them. They got the mafia behind them. You don't got anybody behind you. So don't even try to fight them. You can't fight them. It's just one of those things. They're just too big to fail. It is what it is. And they know everything. The insurance companies know everything. They know everything. And if you had a claim with one, they all know. They're all buddies. They all talk to each other. Don't think because one of them, you had a claim with one, the other ain't going to know about it. Don't know about it. Trust me. They have a file on everybody that's ever lived, that's ever will live. I guarantee you that. But anyways, I'm thinking about selling my one of my big excavators just because, I haven't used it in like 2 years. Well, no, not 2 years, a year. I haven't used it in like a year. I did 2 jobs with it, and then I just don't have any motivation to kind of push that kind of work for some reason. I really should just kind of really push some more advertising out there for that, but I've gotten to the point where I've gotten kind of lazy, and this happens to every business owner. You get in kind of a rut where, you got into a rut where you're not making as much as you'd like to, but you're also not broke. So you're like, it's so tough to get out of that rut, guys. It really is, because you're making enough to be happy, but not quite enough to be where you want, because at the end of the day, you're never going to be satisfied with what you have. You always want more, right? Everybody, that's just human DNA. You're always going to want more trucks, more money, more this, more that. But you got to find the happiness in the now. Because you can't be all, doom and gloom the whole time, or else, that would be a sucky life. So you gotta find happiness in the now, and when you find the happiness, then you're like, I guess I don't really need to push myself this hard. And then you get stuck in this little rut. It happens to everybody. You ever talk to any business owner, they'll tell you they've been in a rut before. If they never been in a rut, they're probably not human. So that's what I think. But a lot of you guys watch the channel. I don't know if you guys watch it because you're interested in starting a dump truck business or what. Maybe just the algorithm is showing you my channel because you're bored or something. But if you want to start a dump truck business, it's a good time to start one, honestly. It's a good time to start a dump truck business. I would not start a dump truck business with a manual transmission, though, if I were you. Like, if you're looking at buying your first dump truck, don't buy a manual. Buy an automatic. Allison automatic. The 4500 RDS. That's what you want. I'm giving you guys the gold right here. I shouldn't tell you this at all, but I'm telling you. For some reason, I'm stupid. I just give away all my secrets. If your first dump truck is an automatic, going from no employees to employees is 10 times easier. And that goes for any type of business where you have some sort of transportation need where you're trying to fill it. When you're trying to find a driver, you need automatics because, for one, just the ability to find a driver is so much easier, right? For an automatic. They're just way easier. Anybody can drive one. You only got like 0.5% of people that are like, oh, I never drive one. Those are sissy trucks. That's just because they've never driven one. Once they drove one, game over. They're hooked. Just because you can focus on so many more important things than, shifting. There's so many more things you can focus on. They're just more safer. They're just better all around. And this is kind of transitioning into a point that I want to talk to you guys about. So the other, last month, February, I drove all the way over to Costco, dropped my truck off, hopped in my brother-in-law's Tesla, right? He's got a Tesla. That thing drove us all the way to Portland, Oregon, and he didn't even touch the steering wheel once. He didn't even touch the steering wheel, guys. He was just like, la-di-da-di-da, The car drove the whole way there. I gotta say, that is coming for a lot of people's jobs. If you don't think you're not going to be replaced, you are blind as a bat. That self-driving software, it's only a matter of time before it takes over. It's only a matter of time. As soon as it becomes cheaper to invest your money into that versus employees or drivers or whatever, you can kiss your job goodbye. I'm just going to say that. It is what it is. Like, I don't like the idea of it, but as a business owner, I love the idea of it. I hate it, but I love it. And every single business owner is going to find themselves in that predicament. where they're like, okay, well, we gotta have drivers. I mean, people have to have things to do, right? Or what's the purpose of life, right? They're gonna have to find a new purpose because eventually, you know, the trucks are gonna drive themselves so well that, you know, for a couple years you'll just be sitting in a cab watching all the computer do everything, right? I think that's about 10 years away. This is my timeline in my head. 10 years from now, you'll just have drivers just sitting in cabs. They're not going to be touching nothing. The computer is going to be doing it all. You're just going to be watching. 20 years from now, no more drivers. That's my... You can timestamp this if you want. You can take it to the bank if you want. The technology is there. It's literally almost there. The only thing that has to happen is it has to be cheaper to invest in that than to hire drivers. It has to be easier to invest in that over drivers. And, you know, after having that experience of riding in that Tesla, and it drove all the way to Oregon and back, he literally, listen to this, we were in the parking lot. He took his phone out and pushed a button on it, and the car drove to us with nobody in it. There was nobody in the car. It literally drove right to us with nobody in it. If they can do that with cars, trucks are not that far away. I hate to break it to you, they're not that far away. You know, and they got so many sensors nowadays. It's just gonna be. It's kind of like a dominoes effect. As soon as those blocks start falling, they start falling. You ain't reversing it. There's no reversing it. You know, and you know, I'd like to think that I'd be able to compete in an industry where there are self-driving trucks, but I hate to break it to you, I don't have millions of dollars and billions of dollars to invest in self-driving trucks. But guess what? Miles Resource does. You got Heidelberg Materials, they got enough money to do that. You got all these mega corporations, Swift, you know, CR England, all these mega corporations. Guess what? They will have the money because they have these unlimited budgets where they can borrow billions of dollars for nothing. But guys like you and me, we can't borrow that kind of money because we don't have the contacts or what, you know, whatever, I don't know, some reason, right? We're probably not going to, we're the ones going to be behind the curve on that. You know, unless you're one of the early adopters of the technology, and somehow you get your foot in there, the mega corporations, as soon as they test this out and they see how gold it is, game over for the little guys. You're not going to be able to compete. You just won't be able to compete. Once they perfect that technology of a truck being able to drive down the road, and then statistically it'll have less accidents, less road rage incidents, less, you know, tip overs or whatever. Eventually there's going to be a point in time where it's better than the driver can be. And with as distracted as drivers are nowadays, that's only going to be amplified. It's only going to happen sooner, right? I mean, as truck drivers, we see everybody on their phones 24/7. Like, if you think that people aren't on their phones when they're driving, you're blind. I mean, I see it all day long. Every single person on the road practically is on their phone. You know? And eventually, the government is going to just say, guess what? That goal zero we had, we can actually achieve it now. We're going to mandate all manufacturers from now on, they're going to have self-driving capabilities installed on the vehicles. And then it's only a matter of time before they force everybody to be self-driving. And they'll just slowly, it's just one of those things that just kind of eats away, and then next thing you know, you look around and then it's all self-driving. You know, I'm thinking maybe 20 to 50 years. That's kind of what I'm thinking. You know, I used to think that I was starting, and I talked to my wife about this. I used to think, man, I'm going to pass the dump truck business on to my son, and it's going to be this thing. But the more and more I look into the future, the less I see drivers. It's just, drivers are going to be obsolete, man. We're a dying breed. It's kind of like when I was in the fuel industry, the home heating oil. They came out with these heat pumps, and they started building all these houses with no oil tanks, no home heating oil tanks. You know, every single year I was delivering home heating oil, the routes would get smaller and smaller. And it's like, wait a second here. How much longer am I going to have a job? Because nobody's buying heating oil anymore. They all got these heat pumps. They're all going electric. Right? So, like the trucking industry in a whole, dude, I mean, you have got to be looking at your plan B, because the plan A ain't going to be there forever. You know, just like during COVID, I had to change my business to have work. You will have to adapt as well. I mean, adapting is just the name of the game as a human. You got to learn to adapt. So, you know, and I wouldn't be all depressed about it. Don't be depressed about it. It's something to be excited about. But we have to, you know, we have to be excited about the future and what it can hold and the benefits. You also got to, you know, keep in mind the negatives too, obviously, you know. Who knows when it'll actually happen? But it's one of those things that you got to keep your eye on, ladies and gentlemen. Keep your eye on that technology, because it's just getting better and faster and more prevalent, you know. It's cool, but at the same time, you never know what the future holds for us. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the whole thing? You know, what do you guys think about the whole self-driving? As an owner, I can tell you right now, as soon as it becomes mainstream, it's gonna blow up as an owner. Like, I mean, I love my guys that work for me, but at the same time, as a business owner, as a lot of business owners, you won't have a choice. You will have to adapt to this technology, or you will go out of business. It's just that simple. You know, it's just like Blockbuster. You know, they could not adapt to the streaming services. And then you got Netflix and Hulu that all took over everything. First it was Redbox, you know. Redbox took over Blockbuster because they could be more spread out, and it was cheaper. They didn't have to pay employees. They just had a box. You know, you just come in, swipe your card, grab your disc, and go. And then next thing you know, that's done away with. Now it's all on your phone. And Blockbuster's no longer. You know? It's just one of those things. You got to either learn to adapt or get left. And I'm not saying it's happening right now in the trucking industry. It's not going to happen today. It's not going to happen tomorrow. You know, but within, if you guys don't see it happening within 20 to 50 years, your timeline's off. You're not aware of the software, and you're not aware of the technology that's really out there. And you should really be opening your eyes to the technology that is around you, such as the AI industry, you know, artificial intelligence. You got ChatGPT, and you got all those AI tools, I mean, that right there has eliminated a lot of people's jobs. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of middle management, if they can't use that tool, they're obsolete because somebody that use that tool is 1,000 times more capable of doing a better job. You know, if you haven't used an AI tool yet, you need to check it out because your mind will be blown. Like, I'm a redneck, guys, right? So I'm not like super into technology. And if you haven't used one and I've used one, that's when you know you're in trouble because I'm a redneck. Like, I do everything the hard way, it seems like, in my life. I've done everything a hard way. Extra hard work, extra long hours, extra suffering, extra everything. I've done it. I just seem to never do things the smart and easy way. It's always been the hard way for me. And if I'm onto this before you are, you got a problem. I just got to tell you that. You're behind the curve if I'm onto this technology before you are. So you need to be looking at the technology that's out there. The whole cryptocurrency, Bitcoin thing. If you don't know what Bitcoin is, you need to spend a couple hours doing the research. Some people say, oh, it's a Ponzi scheme or this or that. You don't know what it is. You haven't spent enough time researching it. And, I mean, there's so many things that you really got to be looking into this future technology and figuring out how to use it to your benefit, because if you don't, somebody else will, and they're going to use it against you. That's the way the world works. So, anyways, guys, don't forget to pound that like button and pound that subscribe button as always. I love you guys. Write down in the comments what your thoughts are on the whole AI and the self-driving coming into this industry. What your time frame, what you think it looks like. How's work been for you guys? Just let me know in the comments. I love catching up with you guys in the comments. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.